In January of 2021, it was announced that Pantheon was able to secure some new funding from private investors that was separate from the crowdfunding source they had accumulated so far. About 2 months after this, they had begun releasing detailed to-do lists on what needed to be implemented before the game could start going through its full alpha phase. This started to become a regular addition to some of the newsletters, but as of this month, many of these systems are still in progress. Now because of this, some people are very reserved about the game from the outside looking in. The game's been in development for about 8 years now and still hasn't left the phase of pre-alpha. But one thing I think has eluded a lot of people, and one thing that I didn't even know myself, is that back in October of 2020, they announced that they had actually spent the previous months of that year performing a major refactor on the game's coding. This was because they wanted to move from hard-coded and flexible implementations to a more robust and scalable solution. They said that it was needed to move forward to get the game capable of rapid building with little wasted effort from development and to scale to the size of project that Pantheon aims to be. They ended up ripping these game systems out and reconstructing them in a much more efficient and flexible format. So essentially, a lot of the game was scrapped and had to be rebuilt almost from the ground up. And we could talk about how doing this 6 years later is quite a long time to wait, which is true, but these things can happen during game development. The main thing is that as long as the game is able to become the best version of itself by the time it hits release, that'll be the best recipe for success. Now the main topic for this video is that Pantheon has yet again secured funding towards its development from private investors. They followed up with this on Twitter when someone had asked if the investment had come from a company or individuals. The response was that this round included several individuals, but also that they only partner with like-minded people who share the same passion and values. And when you think about it, it makes sense. If there's one thing that Pantheon's been able to foster since the inception, it's a community that's supportive. That support may have slid on the pendulum from time to time for the vast majority, but in comparison to other games, unless we're talking about Final Fantasy XIV, this game's community is probably one of the most supportive I've ever seen. And as far as MMORPGs go that are aiming to capture the soul of the old school experience while innovating on it with something new, Pantheon in many ways is one of the games spearheading this. And there's quite a few people out there that miss the kind of game Pantheon is building. And personally, if I was as invested in those older games as some people were, plus I had the money, I'd probably invest too. And not even with the intent of trying to propose changes, but simply to keep the dream alive. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more types of funding like this in the future. There could be quite a few wealthy people out there that are craving another experience like EverQuest, Star Wars Galaxies, Asheron's Call, or games like Lineage were able to provide. In the newsletter, this is followed up by the announcement of another developer live stream instead of a VIP roundtable. It'll be scheduled for next week, and it'll feature both the CEO Chris Rowan, the creative director Chris Perkins, and popular Twitch streamer CohhCarnage that's hosting it on his channel. They'll be reviewing the state of the game, what the investment means for Pantheon, and highlight some of the recent developments talked about in the game's previous live streams. In celebration of this recent investment, they're also going to be offering a limited time pledge package known as Scion of the Black Rose. This package is scheduled to go live around July 27th, which is the same day of the live stream / Q&A, and it will be selling for around $750 US. Now this is $250 less than the original pledge that allows you to gain access to the soon to be starting again pre-alpha, and that's why the Scion package is so highly priced to begin with. But I would strongly advise against pledging into one of these VIP tier packages yet until you're fully aware of what you're getting into. This bracket is more for the controlled testing because they're still actively building out some of these gameplay systems in preparation for the alpha. So what you'd experience in the pre-alpha phase could be severely limited in comparison. On top of that, I remember reading somewhere that the pre-alpha sessions only tend to last for around a few hours or so at a time, so I wouldn't be expecting to get a super meaningful experience from it just yet. So I'd recommend that if you are interested in pledging, go for one of the smaller packages like in the champion range, or just do some more waiting and see how things develop before you back it. These pledge packages, including the Scion one, do offer monthly payment plans as well, so if you wanted to do it that way, you could. And if you already have an existing package, you would be able to upgrade to this one directly after it goes live. Now for the last part of this newsletter, they show us their current progress on the roadmap to alpha. Like we talked about in the beginning, these are all the checklist items that need to be developed before they're comfortable with introducing the regular alpha testers into the game of Pantheon. And by the way, they were thinking about removing any kind of NDA for alpha so we would be able to talk about it and stream it. We do have a few already that seem to be fully complete: NPC combat awareness, asset and terrain streaming, HDRP conversion, and scrolling down we do see that the banks themselves are also complete on the list. Several of these features are still in progress, but each of them have updated patch notes beside them to let the reader know how they're doing. In the class and combat section, they completed the initial implementation of the near-death system and revised the death penalty mechanics themselves, which by the way we will talk about in another video. They've made changes to the network overhaul and disposition/trait system, improved the starting zone experience for new players, and also had a quick update regarding the mechanics behind gathering and crafting. I'll leave these up for a second so you can see. And in the last section, we get some details for the progress on the graphical side of the game. Zones are currently still underway, but they have been making some headway, including a new tool they've been using to enable rapid generation of large-scale freeform cliffs in the game. In the animation portion, it seems that they've made some updates to the swimming side of the game, and apparently we're going to be getting some underwater mineral nodes, so that'll be really fun to explore. I hope they give us some caves with that. But that's overall the gist of the producer letter, not counting the other articles that we'll cover later. But yeah, let me know what you think about the investment. Let me know if this inspires more confidence in the game for you, less confidence, about the same. Leave it all below. Have a wonderful night or day, folks, and farewell.